Welcome to the Babies in Business Podcast. Join your hosts, Rachel and Avram Gonzales, real-life parents and business partners. Each week on Babies in Business, Rachel and Avram create a space for entrepreneurial parents to find their own way. They'll dive into insights on topics like leadership, efficiency, self-awareness, budgeting, and human psychology as they nurture their family and build their business. Here's your hosts, Avram and Rachel.
Welcome back to the Babies in Business podcast. Today we're preparing for baby number 2. If you've been a long-time listener, you might recall one of the very first episodes that we put together was about preparing for our first child. As business owners welcoming a new being to this world, we had a lot of unknowns, we had a lot of questions, and we did our best to prepare.
Yeah.
And I think we did pretty good.
We did. I mean, absolutely. We're here.
But we want to make the best of our second time around and see if we can create some ease for ourselves. And having walked the path that we've already walked, we want to reflect back and then open up this conversation to you, the listener, things that we learned, things that we wish we'd done different, and you can get some ideas of how, we're preparing for the next baby, and maybe you could too.
Yeah. I think back on my journey and being a mom, so much is required just physically of you. Having the baby, you are growing the baby for 9 months, then you have the baby. This is a physical ordeal. You become this portal to this new being coming into this world. And so much changes about your body. And then if you choose to nurse or breastfeed, if you choose to use formula, there's so many different things that come about. How do you feed this little being? And for me, it was filled with a lot of heartache and guilt and regret and just feeling like I had let my baby down. And I felt like I really did want a do-over in a lot of different ways. And baby number 2 does feel like a do-over for me, like emotionally, kind of like a reset. Do I feel like I failed Lincoln? No, I did not fail him. Those are just very emotional reactions that I had. But we did have some stuff that we did to prepare. And how do you prepare for the unknown?
That's the difference between then and now.
Yeah, and you hear about these things. I have 7 sisters, and most all of them every single one of them, except for one, has had children before me, and 2 are younger than me. And I've heard different things, and I was actually separated from my family. I chose to step away from my family and not have that support system during the time that I was pregnant with Lincoln and had him. So I was very much alone and just going off of like what my mom had told me and growing up and asking questions about being a mom, and then not realizing that I had a lot of judgments around all sorts of things that come up about being a mom. So there's a lot of things
don't give too much away.
Sure.
Don't give too much away.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
There were a couple of things that Rachel and I were chatting about before we popped this on and started recording. And I think the best way we're going to attack this is in categories.
Yeah.
The different things and reflections. So we have the financial side.
Yep.
That includes mostly the household, I think.
It does.
The business side, like how we prep for business operations and how those might change. A couple other things, right?
Yeah, and with financial stuff,
What are the other things, by the way?
Oh, the household stuff. There's household stuff. The things that we did.
Support. Mm-hmm. Support, and there was one other category.
I just wrote down 3.
Okay, well, we'll go from there. Let's start with some of the financial things. What are we doing now that's different or the same as before?
Yeah, so we were just getting started with Profit First when we were having Lincoln. And just in the probably a year by that time.
And by the way, Profit First is an accounting and cash management type system.
It helps with cash flow, things like that. Mike McAlwick's.
Yeah, you can check out the show notes. We're going to link to past podcasts in that book.
Yeah. And so what's different then and now is that before we didn't really have a ton of profit coming in. That's at a specific percentage of your gross income. And there's just so many different things that we didn't have fully set up. And this time we've been able to save for baby or just set money aside since January, since the first profit draw. So that's a significant thing that we're doing to help prepare us this time around.
Yeah, because before we weren't really sure what money we had available.
Yeah.
We were always uncertain about the money that we were drawing from the business.
Yeah, we were.
Is that more than the business can sustain?
Correct.
Do we deserve more?
Correct.
Should we do less?
And then also, we have some income goals right now that we're working with, making sure that we're bringing in enough money on the business side so that it can support the personal side. And we're able to see a clearer vision to that. So we're doing some different kinds of marketing strategies for our business. So those also play into what we're doing. And then on the support side,
this is a big one for us.
Yeah, it's a really big one, that we started Orangetheory in October of 2022 when Lincoln was born. So I was 4 months postpartum, and it was a struggle for me to get there at all. I think it was a struggle for all of us, for you to get there maybe on a different level than me.
Nobody was sleeping after 4 months.
Yeah, so we were struggling, but that community has become such a support system for us. We have a number of friends there that have offered to help with Lincoln. They just adore him. For Halloween, he dressed up as a fox. We all dressed up as woodland creatures. And we ended up bringing in Lincoln, and he was dressed up as a fox, and everybody just adored him. They were so excited to see him in the lobby.
Well, yeah, and shout out to that support system, particularly Laura G.
Yeah.
If you're listening, thank you so much for the support that you are. Laura ended up bringing him a fox stuffed toy after that because she knew how much he loved that, and how cool is that?
Right. And then Justin G, he's so sweet. He's always asking about Lincoln and us, and just people are so aware and they want to give to you. And in our situation, it's that our job is to receive what is being given to us, whether that's just good energy or somebody willing to watch your baby. If you feel comfortable with them, then, that was our biggest thing, is the comfort. I
think we
that level
underestimated the first time around how much support you could benefit from.
Right.
So we were the family that we have got is great, and that's easy. But you know what happens quickly? Your family's gonna get burned out trying to help you.
It's a heavy load.
It's a heavy load. They got their lives too, and it sounds funny, but just felt like we didn't have that many friends at that point that we could call on. I know that sounds weird, but I think you and I have a hard time asking for help in the first place. We've done episodes about that. I'll plug that in the show notes.
Absolutely.
We hired a doula last time.
Right. We hired a doula, and she came in. She was able to be with Lincoln while I was able to sleep. So there were a lot of different things that we were able to do, but that only lasted so long. And, I think that as a new mom, I had the most energy in the first 6 months of baby, because it's kind of like a marathon where you've got the most energy at the beginning, and then the longer it goes on, the more taxed and less energy you have. And so I found myself at about 9 months just not able to do it anymore. Very much emotionally taxed, all these different things. So the doula was great at the beginning, but what about that ongoing support? We needed ongoing support, and I didn't realize that. I come from a family of women that are self-sacrificing, and they don't think about themselves, and they don't put themselves first. And my mother died before she was 60. And I think of all the different things that could have been different for her had she chosen herself. And it's so important to put ourselves first. If we don't put our oxygen mask on, and I know this sounds so simple and silly, we literally cannot help anybody else. I was not sleeping well, and I was not showing up well for you or Lincoln. So this time around, we have something in place. We didn't actually think about sleep training. That was kind of a DIY thing that we were doing. We were reading a book and going off of these suggestions. They were not personalized suggestions. They were not actually really helpful sometimes. You would tell me when you needed to go down or eat or whatever it was, and you'd say in 3 hours, and I said, Avram, I need you to do the math for me. I cannot compute that. And then you actually set up a meeting with a sleep trainer, and I was so mad at you, mostly because I felt so ashamed that I couldn't do it myself, that I'm his mom, but I didn't have these instincts and this intuition that could actually get me to the next step.
Well, and it's like you think that babies are just going to sleep. Well, newsflash, they don't just sleep. You know, you have to kind of get them accustomed to what that actually looks like. And,
Yeah.
you know, we're really grateful for Carol Gruby introducing us to her daughter, Megan Robert. Sorry if I butchered that, Megan, after the stork. And, you know, Megan's been instrumental in bringing sleep to our household. And sleep actually meant peace, and it meant that we could start to thrive.
And sanity, and I was able to, it changed my world in just a couple of days. It truly, truly transformed everything.
And we've retained her.
We have.
You know, as Lincoln grows older, his sleep patterns change, and, you know, we're going to retain her again, I'm sure, with
Absolutely.
this baby, to get on track. Even though, like, we, quote, know the things that she taught us, it's so helpful to have somebody that you're paying that's there to just be there for you and help you through the thing.
Well, I think it goes back to the DIY episode that we've done. I do not want to troubleshoot something that has such massive effect on the well-being of our family and our children. It's just so worth it. You know, planning for the sleep is so important because we didn't really plan on that. I really didn't know about all those things. We planned on how to support each other, how we could recognize when someone else is stressed and overburdened or whatever that was.
I think those exercises that we went through, those were really helpful.
They were.
That was that inside of Baby Wise?
No, that was inside of the book, the 4th trimester.
Oh.
So a lot of people, when they think about birth, they think about just the 3 trimesters where we grow the baby and then we have the baby and then we're done. But we don't think about the mother and the healing of the mother afterwards. That this book suggests that the next 3 months should be the healing of the mother prior or after birth, so post-birth. And some of those things are how you can. I was absolutely it was a staggering statistic that I read that said something about marriages not making it after children because of the stress that comes from children having a baby. And so that was something that I want. I mean, I adore you and I love our relationship, so I want to keep that going. So how can we do that and support each other and help each other feel like we have support? You know, it changes.
And part of what I'm going to share ties back into the financial side of it. We really underestimated how important it would be to carve out time for just you and me.
Right.
We really slept on that for a long time, and it's only until like the
was
last
it like
month
2
or
months
two
ago?
that we started asking for help and having somebody come babysit
Yeah.
here and there. And I think that's a new priority and maybe a bigger focus for us on baby number 2 because, you know, after that first 2 months or whatever, 3 months, it is the marathon.
Yeah.
And your relationship can only handle so much. And
Right.
you got to build into it. You build into it when a little baby is trying to take all the time, and bless them, they deserve it. But so does mom, so does dad.
Building a business while raising a family can be tough to juggle for any entrepreneur. Knowing where to focus and how to spend your limited time is critical to your success. That's why Babies in Business has produced and made available a fantastic audio resource for you. It's titled 5 Key Focus Areas to Build a Profitable Business Without Burnout. During this short training, Rachel and Avram peel back the curtain on their secrets to building a business that serves your family, your dreams, and beyond. To download your free copy of the 5 Key Focus Areas, go to babiesandbiz.com/download. Again, that's babiesandbiz.com/download to get your free copy. We hope you enjoy. Now, back to the podcast.
Right. When I think about that, that word or phrase, benign neglect, you know, we don't mean to neglect our partner, especially as a mom. We don't mean to neglect you. Sometimes it happens because there's just so much required. So it is something that takes a lot of effort and that I'm committed to. This time around, you know, before we did a lot of prep, we had 3 things that we thought about. You know, the doula, we prepped that. We made sure that we were trying to help each other to make it through. And then we had some plan for sleep, but it was more of a DIY situation. You know, reading the book, he'd tell me all the things.
Yeah.
And that was a disaster,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Didn't work.
It was really, really difficult. But now what we're doing is we have some other considerations. We want to keep things normal for Lincoln, as normal as possible. He goes to Kid Strong, and he loves it. And he has friends there, and he's so excited, and he talks a lot, and all these different developmental things for him. And we want to keep that going. And for me, breastfeeding was not a successful journey for me and Lincoln. It ended at about 3.5 months, and I was devastated. And then I had to, there were a lot of pivots, but this time around, I have a course and some support. There are people that I can specifically reach out to and get that specific support that I need, one-on-one support if I need it, and it is at the tips of my fingers. So I understand more about even the anatomy of breastfeeding. That's really important. We have these bodies, but how do they really function when they come together as a baby and a mother nursing? So I'm learning a lot more about that.
Yeah. First time around, you assumed this is just going to be easy, and I got a lot of sisters, and they all did it well, and blah, blah, blah. And now you realize that first time wasn't as easy.
It was terrible.
So now you just recruited help, and you've got it.
And I've paid some money,
Yeah.
so I'm not doing it myself. And, I'm really excited about that support that I have. We already talked about Megan. We will definitely have her services with us way earlier than 9 months. we will elect to have those way sooner. I think that babies can sleep through the night at like 4 months.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that because that's going to help our baby have more. Just sleep is good for everybody.
Sleep is really important. Would you like to talk about something a little controversial that we're planning with,
I do.
with the sleep? All right.
Well, it's kind of already started.
Yeah, well, just hear us out for a second. All right, just hear us out for a second. A lot of people are gonna be up in arms about it, but you know what? It's our household, not yours. Take it for what it's worth.
And the intention, really, it's less about what it is, I think, and it's more about why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. So we realized in the first 2 years how important sleep is.
Yeah.
If we're not getting sleep, literally everything starts to degrade in your life. Everything.
Absolutely.
So you can't show up good for your kid, for your business, your clients, yourself, your partner. Everything degrades.
Yeah.
So priority is sleep.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the longevity.
Right.
So keeping that in mind, we decided recently to bring the daybed in from the garage. We just had it stacked. We haven't had a use for it in years since Lincoln was born. He took the nursery. We took the daybed out.
Yep.
And we moved that daybed into the bigger part of the house.
Yep.
And when Rachel can't sleep right now because third trimester, the baby's waking you up, your body is
tossing
through all these changes,
There's tons of pillows around me.
all this stuff.
I take up a lot more room.
She wakes up in the middle of the night. She's worried and concerned that she's waking me up. Sometimes that is the case. Other times it's not. So you just started taking the daybed.
Right.
And you'd go out if you can't sleep, hang out on the daybed or read or whatever. And that's helped us now.
It kind of started there, and now I'm just sleeping out there, and it works really well. You can have a great night's sleep, and I can get a great night's sleep. I actually sleep better, having more room, being able to turn around, toss like side to side. My hips get sore, simple stuff like that. But being able to know that I'm not disturbing anyone else in the house.
Yeah, and it's like people are like, "Oh, you're not sleeping in the same bed right now." It's like you also aren't there for the whole half hour, 1 hour that we spend in the bedroom before we go to sleep.
Right.
You know?
We still have time to connect,
Yeah.
and we make that a priority, and we talk to each other. And I remember with Lincoln, shortly after him, we would have this one-word check-in, and we'd just ask, what's your one word? And we get really clear on how the other person was feeling. Mm-hmm. So we still try to keep that up. But in when baby is born, what we're going to do to continue to help the house have good sleep all the way around is we're going to have so baby will be co-sleeping, if you will, but sleeping in a bed next to my bed. And then I will be able to nurse the baby. I will not have to get up all the way. It's not going to change. It's not going to totally affect my sleep cycles. Hopefully, I will be able to maintain better sleep because of that. Especially with a little baby, you have to feed them often, like every 2 hours, because their tummy is so small.
Yeah, and the thing that we realized is, what is the purpose of me staying in that same room when the baby is waking at all hours, when there is literally nothing that I can do for that baby? I can't feed him.
Right.
Right? What do you really need? You don't really need anything except for the baby to go back to sleep after it eats.
But also for you not to wake up when you wake up. When I wake up, it's stressful for me because I know that you're not going to sleep. You're not sleeping well. You're not going to be able to do the things that you need to do. We have a little toddler that needs you to be present.
And that's really the bigger consideration is me being able to show up fully for him.
Right.
Once August is born, and then that's going to allow me to also show up fully in the business. You're taking some time off.
Right.
This time, I'm not taking the same amount of time off that we
Right.
did last time. You were out off almost 6 months.
Right.
I was off fully for 7 weeks.
Right.
That was a wonderful incubatory time that we had as a
Right.
family, where we're not doing that this time.
No, and it's shifted for a number of different reasons, but the sleeping situation has been so great for me, and I know that I will have less stress on the other side of having baby because of not having to worry about you sleeping or not sleeping, because that was actually kind of a point of contention after Lincoln was born. You didn't want him sleeping in the room because no one had got any sleep, but we didn't have these other solutions. So having this solution makes it really, really nice for everybody to get more sleep.
We'll let you know how it goes. Certainly will. This podcast isn't
Exactly.
going anywhere. We'll have a lot of reflections.
Right. And, something that we're doing in our business is, speaking of preparing, is we know that we have 11 more episodes, or 11 total, that need to be recorded so that we can make it through to September. September is kind of a place that we feel like we'll be in a better place, or not financially, but energetically. And
Yeah,
on the
we're
other side of
making
baby
it so
and-
that if we don't have the energy to record another podcast episode
Or the time.
for 3 months
Right.
following August's birth, we've got the episodes to cover it. So we're
Exactly.
cranking them out right now.
Yeah.
This one, who knows when this will get aired? Who knows when the next one will get aired? But sometime between now and September.
Right. So that's another thing that can help with lack of stress, not just getting rid of that stress. Lots of other different considerations, but really, I think if nothing else, the sleeping situation that we're choosing to do in our household, I think it just I invite everybody out there that's maybe in the same situation or has something that maybe is unorthodox that they're considering, sleeping in separate beds when you're married, that you just make it less about other people and more about you and see if it works for you, because this really works for me. I grew up Mormon, and this is super
Taboo.
awful.
Not-
It's taboo. It's like, you do not sleep in separate beds. If you do, there's something wrong with your relationship.
Right. That's
So-
pretty common.
So yeah, there's that.
We're doing, I think, a lot less different with the business this time around. Last time
Right.
we did have a key team member that was with us.
Right.
Shout out to Lauren. Lauren was there with us when Lincoln was born and really handled all the client communication and stuff while we were out. And it was really because of her that we were able to take that time.
Right.
We had built some systems and things in place. They weren't perfect for us to be able to take a significant amount of time off. But now, this time around, we're 2 years further in the business. We've discovered a lot of efficiencies. We've
Yes.
contracted down our service offerings to make it more simple. It's just really a lot easier to run the business now than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're also able to batch a lot of the work in advance of taking time off. So
Right.
things are going to keep going because we do have other team members that continue to take care of things in the background. And, you're working with clients right now to set up their next quarterly meetings or monthly meetings around
Right.
the time of the birth.
Yes.
So proactive in that communication. They know what to expect. They know that they still have a line to me, even though
Right.
you're not there anymore.
Well, and also something that I think is different from then and now is also recognizing very clearly that your time is limited, you, Avram, in the business, and that we need to make sure that when we bring on something else, when we change something, whatever that looks like, that we do not put more onto your plate. And that's really, really helped us to get very, very clear on what does and does not work for us. And it's been serving us very, very well and not overburdening you.
Yeah.
So we're going to take that into the future for all the prep.
Yeah, because short term, it'll be me handling client stuff for the
Yeah.
interim.
Yeah.
I'm not the best at that, those details and things, but the way that we're going into it and the prep is going to make that a lot easier for us and more seamless for our clients.
Right, exactly. So no one is going to suffer because of this change in our life, this addition, but we're we're coming into it more prepared and with our eyes wide open. But also, I think, more willing and able and already starting to ask for help, which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So there are so many people around us and around you that want to help us, and you.
I think it's funny, as I'm looking, we've been recording for over 20 minutes, and I think the first part 1 episode was like 15. So we learned a lot. We were very excited to share with you today about some of the things that are changing for us as we get ready for little number 2. As you know, running a business and raising a family is a world that not everybody knows. Most people are clocking 9 to 5s. Most people that have a business, we have a lot of these friends, one person is running the business.
Right.
The other person is running the household.
Right.
But when you're all in it together, it's complicated, it's messy, it's hard.
Right.
And that's why we created this episode.
Communication is so important. Oh my gosh. And we're going to get into all that. There's so many things, so many nuances about working with your spouse.
Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to add before we kind of wrap it here?
No, I think we really covered all the things, just maybe the only thing I'd say is find out what works for you and make no apologies.
Yeah. Check it out in the show notes. There's an earlier episode as well. I think it's cheekily called Everybody Knows Best, including your mother or something like that. Put that in the show notes too. It's about following your intuition, and everybody's got opinions about how you run your business, how you run your household, but none of those people are paying you. None of those people are helping you. So, you don't need to listen to them.
Right.
Cool. With that, we'd love to hear from you. What is one thing that you wish you had prepared better for with the new addition that came to your family? Maybe it's been a while since that new addition arrived, but hey, we'd love to hear it. And you can find us on social media at Babies and Biz Pod. I got Facebook, we got Twitter, actually it's X now, right? Instagram, YouTube, all those places. We would love to hear from you. And we're still asking for those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you write a little note about it and what you've enjoyed specifically about this podcast, it'll encourage other people to check it out too. Those reviews mean a lot to us. Thank you for getting on there and taking just a minute out of your day to do that. Make sure you check out the show notes of this episode. We dropped a lot of different resources here we want you to be aware of and have accessible to use in your life, or maybe even share with a friend. So with that, we appreciate you for tuning in.
Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Babies in Business Podcast. Who do you know that would benefit from hearing this episode? Share it with them and post about it on social media. You can find the show notes for this episode, free downloads, and connect with the rest of the community at babiesandbiz.com. We'll see you next time.